What if the seals in the sea were watching you and they actually turned out to be human? And what happens when one of them is trapped on the land forever? Well, in this tale, this folk tale from the Faroe Islands, the first on the channel, I will tell you this story. So this folk tale is called The Seal Woman of Mikladala, The Curse of the Stolen Skin. So a long time ago, in the times of the Vikings and the Anglo-Saxons, in the Faroe Islands, there is an island called Mikladala, and it is said that this island, around the sea, there are seals, but they are not ordinary seals, for they are said in the folklore of the Faroe Islands to be human. And every time there is a full moon in the sky, it is said that they shred their skin. Now these islands were inhabited by the Faroesians, ancestors of the Norse, and it is said that on one occasion a farmer was walking late at night. He could not sleep. He decided to go and walk along the coast, and he came to a beach. But something strange, something supernatural was going on. For he looked down at the beach and he saw all these women dancing naked. But he knew that these weren't ordinary women, that these were the seal folk. And every time and once on a full moon, they would shred their skin and come out onto the land. And they was dancing under the moon. And so he crept up very stealthily, holding his sacks and his axe to stop them from banging and making a noise. For this gear we wear, the clothes we wear and the weapons we have can be noisy. So he wanted to be stealthy, and he walked on down to the beach and crept. And there on the floor he found all of the skins of the seals, the seal skins of these women. And he stole one, a terrible thing to do. But this is what he did. And this had a fate for the woman, for the seal woman that the skin belonged to. For now she was trapped on the land and could not get back into her seal skin and go back to the depths of the ocean around of Mikladala, a place that I have not been and I'd like to go. Now this woman, this seal woman with no place to go and could not go back into the sea, saw the young farmer who was not married and followed him home. He went home to his long house which he inherited from his late father, and suddenly there was a knock on the door, and he opened the door. He pulled out the wooden latch, but the door was fastened too, and stood before him was this beautiful naked woman. He refused to give her back her skin, so she could not return to the ocean, and reluctantly she had to marry the farmer. He gave her a dress for the very first time, and on the next morning they went to their local priest, the local monk, and they were married. And they had many, many children. And the years went by. And she lived amongst the humans, the settlers on this island. But nobody knew her secret. Only her husband, the farmer, knew that she was part of the seal folk. And in his longhouse he had a chest, and he locked away her sealskin and hid the key so she could not find it, and she, the seal woman, could not return to her own kin, the seal folk in the ocean. But no matter how many times she tried to forget her past, she could not, for she was always tied to the ocean, and she longed and longed and longed to see her own family and her own father and mother who lived in the sea, who were seals for most of the time, and occasionally on the full moon they would return by shredding their skins and dance on the beaches and for a whole night be human, only to return as seals to the sea. Many years passed, and then one day, while she was tidying up the longhouse, on top of a beam, she found the key to the chest, and took it, unlocked the chest, slid the key along, and opened up the bars that kept the chest secure, and she took out her oily skin, the skin of a seal, her seal skin. She then fled back to the sea, but before she did this, she gave an omen, she gave a warning to the people on the island of Mikladala, saying there will be grief and there will be trouble, and you must prepare, for it is said that these sealkin, these seal folk, could see into the future. The villagers, they all laughed at her warning, and then she fled to the sea. A few days later there came a terrible, massive, brutal storm. It tore down all their longhouses, and they was left in ruin. The villagers had to return to the main island, the island of the Faroes and the Faroians. The villagers returned to the main island of the Faroe Islands, and never returned to the island of Mikladala again. So hark a warning when somebody says, if you do this, terrible things will happen. Beware of those words, and listen to them wisely, for this is a tale that has passed over 1,000 years and will live for another 1,000 years. These are the tales that have a moral meaning and a moral story. Listen to the words of the wise, and never take a skin from a sealkin and a seal folk, for doom is bound to come your way one day. And I hope you've enjoyed this story, for this is the first time I have told a story from the Faroe Islands, a place that I would like to visit one day when I find a crew to man my longship, and we will sail, not to plunder, but to celebrate, to explore, and to meet many a nice and decent person, and tell our tales in the long hauls and in the mead halls. And this story is dedicated to one of our subscribers, William Hanson, who has asked for some stories from the Faroe Islands, and I have many now to tell. So if you're new to the channel, I am Braggy. I am a Scop, a Skald, a warrior, and a Norse pagan, historical reenactor, and a lover of tales and history. Subscribe if you are new. Click the notification bell if you are new. And don't forget to like and leave a comment. It's goodbye from me, goodbye from Braggy, until we meet again, which will be tomorrow. Goodbye. Fare thee woe. For hell in the old Norse tongue.